The boy noticed the teacher staring at his worn-out shoes with a look of disdain. When he raised his hand to answer a question, the teacher rolled her eyes at him and then turned her attention to a pair of clean leather shoes. George felt a deep sense of disappointment. At lunch, the other kids were gathered around the table, enjoying a delicious meal, while George, from a poor family, struggled to even get by. One hamburger was divided into 4 parts. That was all the food for his family of 5 for the entire day. But for someone as big and hungry as George, it wasn't even close to enough. He jokingly said that if he was really hungry, he could just eat the table in front of him. His sister, worried that he wouldn't have enough to eat, kindly gave him a small bite of her burger, but George would rather go hungry than take the piece from her. Every night, his mother would remind him not to cause trouble at school. If they moved again, they wouldn't even be able to afford a single hamburger a day. When he saw other students eating delicious fried chicken, he lowered his head, trying to make himself invisible at the table, but his longing gaze still caught the attention of some classmates, who mocked him. One of the boys noticed what George was thinking, and to taunt him, he pulled out a piece of chicken skin he didn't want to eat and dangled it in front of him. Then he threw the food he was picky about onto the floor, using it to humiliate George under the constant insults and pressure. George's anger finally exploded. He stood up suddenly, stormed over to the boy, and in the next moment, the boy was on the floor. In the end, George was expelled from school. It wasn't the first time he had been kicked out for fighting. His father had abandoned him when he was young, and his mother, just to keep her children in school, had to move them from place to place. Poverty made it impossible for them to pay rent, and the 5 of them were forced to squeeze into an old, abandoned shack. All they had there was cold and hunger. George grew up in such an environment, but through his own hard work, he managed to become someone impressive.